We're not overconfident or anything. We're still very open-minded in scrims. We're trying a lot of stuff. So some of these days are actually tough because after all, we're all young and we are dropping a lot of scrims to teams we shouldn't be dropping games to. But I feel like we're still open-minded enough to be cool with dropping some games in scrims while we're testing some new champions or testing some new game styles. Because we all know once LCS comes around or once the big games comes around, we are all gonna be performing.
Welcome back to the European League Championship Series. After a close match yesterday versus Giants, Fnatic are going to be taking on the Copenhagen Wolves as they eye their 12th straight victory here in summer. Let's focus in first on that Fnatic side, guys. That's going to be Huni in the top lane, Rainover in the jungle, Febiv in the mid, Reckless AD carry with Yellowstar support, and their coach, Daylor. This is a team that has gone record-breaking and then some. Of course, turning to the red side, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Copenhagen Wolves. Their jungler Shook, their mid lane Soren, their AD carry Freeze, the coach Dentist, and of course, we got to talk about the new guys in the top and bottom. It's Lenny and Jesui Katz.
Yeah, and these two guys, they got the Steve treatment when they got to the LCS, completely shut out of the game because they were playing in a lane swap. And in a lane swap, the most important roles to watch in the early game are obviously the top laner and the support because it's so different for them to play this. So much moving around, double jungling, where do I go? And eventually the Wolves, they tried to get objectives, but they were sacrificing so much experience and honestly just completely got shut down after that.
Yeah, this is going to be such a rough match for not just them coming in new. I mean, talk about a trial by fire. The whole team now taking on Fnatic, top of the table versus bottom of the table. Doesn't get much more lopsided than that.
Yeah, and honestly, Fnatic yesterday, they were pretty far behind and they were close to losing that game, but we saw the versatility and just the tenacity that they had, and honestly, we have yet to see the Wolves close out a lead. We have yet to see the Wolves get a decent lead, and things are looking very, very grim. A very lopsided matchup right here.
Yeah, if there's one thing for the Wolves you can definitely give them credit for, the shining light at the end of the tunnel maybe, it's going to be Shook. He has participated in 3 out of 3 First Blood so far. He's definitely been trying to get the team off to a flying start, but it just hasn't been enough.
Yeah, and Shook is a jungler that sometimes baffles me. Sometimes he plays so controlled with the aggression, and then we saw him have the perfect game at Worlds as well against the Koreans, and he honestly playing so damn well, especially on that Lee Sin. He can find those openings, but sometimes in his Wolves lineup, they don't seem to work together too much as of yet. Obviously, the lack of practice shows there, but he can definitely put a game on his back and carry, but he just has to be more consistent in doing so. Obviously, you've yet to see how these 2 new members come in. They lost their shot caller as well, and their captain in Youngbuck. Lenny is struggling. Jesui Katz as a support coming in from solo queue. It's incredibly hard because competitive metagame is so vastly different than just support a solo queue.
Absolutely, and that is another thing, aside from the standings, aside from the player situations, that I feel sets these teams so far apart. It's Fnatic, this cool, controlled, everybody calm down, we're going to take the objective, we'll take the fight, we'll take the game approach, even when they're still having crazy fights, versus we don't really know what's going on in the Wolves camp really at the moment.
Yeah, and this man right there on your screen, Daylor, he does the preparation for Fnatic. He gets them set up on the stage, gets fantastic drafts usually, makes sure that they have a plan, and then it moves to Yellowstar, the in-game captain. So preparation is solid. In-game shot calling is probably the best in the West right now with High stepping down. He might be back this weekend, we will see. So that's the only shot caller really to maybe challenge Yellowstar in that regard, because such a good veteran player. Over all the years, multiple roles, multiple metagames, consistently high performance, and he knows what it takes to dismantle a team like the Wolves.
Absolutely, that experience will come to play for certain here as we move into champion selection. Fnatic versus the Wolves. Fnatic on the blue side this time as they match up once again.
Now we saw Reckless in that little video before the game talk about how they were trying out new things in scrims. This could be a match for Fnatic, where they stray away from convention and try new things. The first time we saw Olaf, that was Fnatic trying something new. In the LCS, perhaps they have other picks prepared because they want to get more depth in the champion pools, at least on the stage. They probably have practiced way more champions than we've seen so far.
Oh yeah.
But they just want to keep expanding so they're ready for playoffs, can deal with curveballs, and then eventually in the road to Worlds, have a wealth of strategies.
This is something that you can afford to do when you've built yourself up such a buffer. I mean, it'd be nice to go 8-0, but the worst case scenario, you're still in awesome playoff contention. Look at this though, the Wolves are focusing on banning Huni again. We've already talked about how this is not usually the optimal strategy.
Yeah, I feel it might be better to try and pinpoint some other members on the Fnatic lineup. Obviously, you can't outban anybody, but you can maybe shut down some strategies, make it awkward for them to play, because I feel Huni, he will find an answer to every question you put them, especially just 3D bans and maybe not even a first pick. He will definitely have a champion to play.
And you can see Fnatic picking on the Copenhagen Wolves jungler there. Shook is having his Lee Sin taken away. Nidalee's off the table. The Draven, of course, against Freeze. They left up Kalista, though, with all of that. The Jace was banned, but sure, Reckless is like, all right, that's perfectly fine. Let's take us a top-tier pick.
Yeah, the carry, AD carry on Kalista could be traded for a Sivir, but we've seen the Copenhagen Wolves not the best strategic unit. So obviously, the one counter to Kalista that is left for the Wolves was Draven, but that's been banned out. Honestly, she has the strongest laning phase out of all champions after that. If the Wolves opt for the Sivir, they've shown to not really use that group potential too much. And then they put their one single carry that they have, Freeze, on a utility champion. Might actually be a good strategy from Fnatic here.
Might indeed. Taking their time about what they want to pick. I mean, let's take a look at what else is left open. There's not a lot of support spanned away. We don't know what Cass is really going to be going for. Lenny, I feel like they definitely have to give them more attention this time around, but do they then want to prioritize the jungle with two preferences from Shook taken away? They have the option to grab Rek'Sai. Alistar, Sivir are both up. They could do both of those in one swing. That's
usually what we see on this rotation, the Alistar, Sivir. One, because you don't want to give the Alistar to Fnatic because Alistar Kalista is such a strong lane. It's by the Kalistar moniker. Same time, you want to find something that could deal well with the mid game. You know, super good AD carry right now. You don't really have any option because everything loses to Kalista anyway, so you might as well pick that Sivir. So very predictable draft in that regard. I imagine Fnatic will opt for likely the Janna again. It seems to be Bora's preference, or Yellow Star rather, because he has probably the, not even probably, he has the lowest damage percent of the entire region when it comes to supports. He only deals something like 4% of his team's damage because that's not his job. All he has to do is keep them alive and disengage.
And that's also reflected in his insanely high kill participation. Despite not dealing damage, he's there. Before even it was cool, Yellowstar was the one who was roaming around and making sure that he was able to help lanes and teams get ahead.
Ooh.
He gets some solid engage, though. I mean, Leona's been an old favorite. I wouldn't be surprised to see it here.
This might be Fnatic thinking out of the box, but I doubt it. I don't like Leona into Sivir Alistar too much.
But Huni does get rumbled.
Huni does get. I think they're waiting. I think Leona could be an alright pick if you wait to see what follows. And honestly, Huni, he can blind pick any matchup and play well, especially when Reignover gets the Rek'Sai, because he can gank the lanes, counter gank, shadow the lanes. He has so many options at his disposal.
And he does that quite effectively all across the way. This Rek'Sai will certainly help him out. He seems a lot more comfortable on it than the Gragas. In situations where they've had both up, he definitely tends to prefer that one, and really only picked it up when they had a lot of bans directed his way, which is rare.
Yeah, and you talk about Gragas, this is probably where the Copenhagen Wolves are going to pick that champion. Zir for Soren. Oh, try to vary it up. They're saving their jungler for last, even though the only tier 1 jungler remaining is Gragas, so Shook might say, like, guys, I don't think we'll find an opening with the Gragas. I want to see what they pick and maybe go for the Rengar again. I'm not sure if I like it too much.
I wanted to ask you if that was going to be the option, actually, because, you know, they have a run at you comp right now.
Yeah, they do have the kitty cat bounce with Sivir ulti, but let's see. And Fnatic, okay, Yellow Star. Do you want to think out of the box? Go Leona here. Decently hard to play. Hard to lock down that Azir, because obviously he can start that that dash animation and still get stunned midway, but he will still arrive at his target. That makes it incredibly hard to land that ulti, so I feel Janna would be nice here. Disengage against the Alistar, disengage against the Shen. Fight reset, keep the Kalista alive, peel, and we saw what Fnatic could do when they play around Reckless. Yesterday was the first time he really had to step up, and he did so. Continuously playing at the front line. He had the help from the Lulu. Now Thresh selected on Fnatic side. Really interesting lane.
That will be the first Thresh Yellowstar has played this split so far. The Thresh Kalista lane, though, is a lot of slingshot back and forth capabilities, and it's hard to predict what direction you're going to be going. Also, the Victor for Febiven versus Azir.
I believe this is the first time Fnatic plays Victor without having a Janna to back it up. I feel every time they've picked Victor so far, they've had Janna to reset the fight around him because he lacks mobility. So he has a very potent mid lane when it comes to, you know, they call him control mage, has a lot of zone, has a lot of damage. But once you close a gap on him, you can blow him up immediately. And usually when we saw people do that against Fnatic, Yellowstar would flash in Monsoon, Howling Gale, keep him alive, and just have these drawn-out team fights. Now they have the Thresh.
So the question then becomes, does this open the floodgates for Shook to take that Rengar and try to get the explosion? Or does he go for something a bit safer? It is the Vi. Okay.
I can see it. targeted lockdown on that low mobility mid laner in Victor. Targeted lockdown potentially on Kalista. Although you can do something fancy with Kalista, you can throw down the Lantern first, then press Fate Skull. The tether will not break. You can throw out the Thresh and then follow himself after you click the Lantern and get out of there. So a lot of escape potential with Kalista once she gets locked down.
This is gonna be a fun game, isn't it?
That's the hardest thing about focusing this lane, because if you focus Kalista, Thresh will just Lantern her out. But if you focus Thresh to prevent that Lantern, which you usually do against the Thresh lane, Kalista will Fate Skull her out anyway. So you need multiple people ganking from multiple angles.
And even that is not always enough. I mean, we saw, remember when Origin ran this, they were able to get out of like 4-man dives and Fnatic is a team that is definitely on that level. I can't wait to see how this unfolds. I'm getting excited. He gets to take a Rumble as well. So we'll see if the Rumble in any of the lanes, how it does go, how they decide to start this game off, as the coaches will shake hands, walk off the stage there. So tough task ahead for these Wolves, but for Fnatic, will they be en route to 12 in a row, continuing the record setting? Why don't you tell us what you think if Fnatic will take that 12th win? Tweet at LOL Esports with the hashtag FNC win or CW win as we get ready to load up onto the Rift. This is going to be a very explosive matchup.
Yeah, and Lenny on Shen. What a daunting task. You come into the LCS, you face a lane swap, you get behind really far in that lane swap, you lose. It's okay, try again. But you lane against Huni. Not what you want.
No, he wants to try to find the victory here. It might be a taunting task. So far, he's going to go for a very defensive start. It makes sense on Shen, of course, everyone. We've been seeing them all do it. The not often mentioned, but often utilized Doran Shield. Of course, Huni's doing the same thing too. So if they do take standard lanes here, as it looks like they might, fanning out in the line of scrimmage, we could be in for at least the first 10 or 20 minutes or so. A bit slow up in the top lane, but that's been fairly par for the course.
Now Febiven, he's putting a lot of respect on that taunt from Lenny. You see the stats on your screen right now. You saw just how hard Fnatic destroyed the Wolves last time. However, that game was relatively even. Let's not forget, when they went in standard lanes, Freeze was about 20-30 CS up against his counterpart Reckless. But then everything changed when Huni teleported. He was playing that Lulu, teleported to the mid lane, got 4 assists in that exchange, and then Young Bucks teleport was 6 seconds late. This was usually a symptom from the Copenhagen Wolves. Their teleports were very uncoordinated, very often too late. But I just want to touch on that cleanse real quickly from Febiven as Freeze takes down that ward. I'll allow one shear for Soul kill on ward.
Right.
Okay, back to the cleanse now, finally. The only cleansable ability in this exchange for Copenhagen Wolves is the taunt from Lenny. So Febiven respecting that so much that he devotes an entire summoner spell to it, because you can't cleanse Vialty and you can't cleanse knockups or knockbacks.
So he's definitely trying to make sure Lenny doesn't make any shenanigan plays on him. Febiven very conscious of how much threat he represents in the form of this Victor. However, if he does get focused, that means Reckless will have a lot more time to get himself in a happy situation. Of course, he should win that lane anyways to begin with, as we will have a 2v2 lane. And the 1v1 up in the top lane. The question then becomes, where do these junglers decide to focus their attention? We know Reignover is fantastic at shadowing Huni and getting him ahead early on this Rumble. Be a dangerous thing for the Wolves to contend with.
And both teams starting a camp, heading to a lane slightly earlier on Fnatic's side. Double range with Kalista advantage. That means you want to let that lane get pushed in as quick as you can. So as an Alistar, you want to avoid ever healing your own creeps, because it slows down the pushing power. As Fnatic, you only want to trade in synchronized trades. You want to hit both targets at the same time, because otherwise you draw creep aggro, and the trade is not worth the speed you use to push up the lane, if that makes sense somewhat. And Huni, he gets level 2 first, and
he does. And Lenny is finding out what it is like to lane against the Huni. Remember, he hadn't been allowed this Rumble for quite a while. Teams focused so heavily on shutting him down, and that was one of the key bans here. Wolves let it through, even though they did focus their attention on him, and they're remembering why people started banning it in the first place.
Yeah. Huni's Rumble has been banned 8 times so far in the split. They are 11-0 right now. That's 8 out of 11. That's a lot of bans.
Oh,
Freeze dodges the landing right there. And now Shook, he has to make this gank work.
He does, going in. Vault Breaker on Lenny is buying some time, but Huni will immediately flash away. Do they have the damage left in the tank? Vorpal Blades flying. Huni's got the scrap shield on. It's going to fade away. And he lives.
Little communication error right there. If you see what happened is Lenny initiated a taunt, Shook was charging up his Vault Breaker, but he knew if he took one more step and then released the Vault Breaker, Huni would flash over it. So what Shook did was good. He flashed in, connected the Vault Breaker before the taunt duration ran off. However, this lost him an offensive gap closer that he could have waited using to chase Huni afterwards with the red buff. So I feel if Lenny taunted just a fraction of a second later, that would have been first blood on Huni. So it's very, very minute and it's very, very subtle, these changes, but you have to do it properly because if you give Huni half a second to survive, he will run out of there.
Staying alive once again. Finds himself a little bit pushed back, but he's more than happy to take Lenny on in a 1v1. Hasn't really needed too much help from Rainover, but let's take a look down bottom where we're seeing on camera right now. The big difference between these two, Reckless is CS. 11 advantage over Freeze. That early level 2 helped so much, and in a winning matchup, it's just insult to injury.
Yeah, they definitely just want to push that in, get that level 2 first, zone them off the wave, and then threaten them on their tower. Don't allow them to CS. Freeze usually is a good CSer in their tower, but losing Unlimited with Cass, the synergy might not be there.
Yeah, it's tough to test a new team against the likes of Reckless and Yellowstar. Two guys that have had quite a lot of synergy, quite a lot of history in the past. We'll have to see how that one keeps on going.
Rainover heading top. He wants to help out Huni now. Huni no flash.
No flash
Getting
this time.
even CS. Lenny, he's low. Can he interrupt the dash?
Ray Seeker's there. There will be the dash on to Rainover. Taunts him for just a second, so he will make his escape. Almost had flash back up.
Yeah, and that was taunt flash by Lenny.
Rather.
Because he knew if he just taunts really, just immediately, the auto knockup from Rainover will knock him out of the taunt, so he had to get to the other side somehow and survive. Good play by both parties, but we're looking at a potential dive here. Huni takes a tower shot. That might be enough to thwart the dive.
Yeah, I think that will be. Rainover was looking in his sights for something there, but he wasn't able to get in and find anything safe with Shook hanging about. Bot lane continues to just be 2v2 on its own right now. The CS lead is still pretty hefty in favor of Reckless.
Yeah, Fnatic bounced the wave to try and freeze it and deny some CS of the Copenhagen Wolves. They said, no, thank you. I'm going to keep pushing and poke you out. And that's obviously the hardest task. If you let the wave bounce backwards, then you're not only fighting the Copenhagen Wolves enemy lineup, you're fighting their creeps with it. Freeze took that trade. Now Yellowstar looks to go in. Oh, Spellshield is down. This could be brutal.
Boy, there goes the Rend. J-Sweet Cass gets caught up. Yellowstar, however, gets knocked up. There won't be anything else to save it but that. Fnatic continuing to just lane it out. Perfectly happy with this situation with the late game scaling they do have in the form of Febiven right there.
Yeah, this is an instance where Yellowstar could have flashed forward and flayed, but he values the safety of his own defensive summoner more than getting a kill. Controlled aggression, because Fnatic, they know that if they go even or slightly ahead or slightly behind or even a lot of goal behind, they will still end up winning the game.
Yeah, they're going to be okay. For the Wolves, though, I mean, it puts them in a situation where they have to act, they have to make plays. But you've got a timer against Fnatic, regardless of what they're playing. But in this particular situation as well, there's Febiven in the mid. We know Huni can be a beast with the teleports, a beast in mid-game fighting. And once it hits that point, the Wolves, they need to build themselves a buffer. And right now, they're down 500 gold.
Yeah, and usually that timer, that's Huni's teleport. If Fnatic goes even in the laning phase, one teleport from Huni opens up the map. In that sense, stylistically, I do like the Shen pick because you have two ways to catch up with him. Either teleport yourself or you stand united, which is slightly quicker even.
Oh, the interact Reckless back. He's going to have to go ahead and flash away for it. He's still fine though. But a nice move, faking out by moving to the left and then heading right back into the last moment.
Yeah, he flashed away from that pulverize. I would have actually liked to see Cass hold on to that pulv a little longer and then flash off the Reckless. Maybe could end up in kill. He still has his summoner heal though.
Huni looking to move down into this red buff with the help of Yellowstar on the roam. Shook realizes a little too late that he was there. That's first blood. And wait a minute, go secure the red buff.
Look at the map right now. Rainover's at the bottom. He's helping his AD carry. Copenhagen Wolves completely forget that Yellowstar based in normal games, normal movement patterns. Support, bases at 6 minutes 50 seconds. He runs back to the bot lane. No, Yellowstar, he bought Moby Boots immediately. He roamed in together with Huni on that level 6 spike, and now he goes into mid. Beautiful rotational play here.
Instantly on to Soren. He's going to dash his way away from the Chaos Storm and all the damage that Fnatic were putting out. Lenny spends his stand united. Nothing doing.
And this is what strategy is made of, in my opinion. Really good play by Fnatic. They're breaking the mold that is the early game. They're breaking the standard lanes by bringing up their support for a roam into the enemy jungle, then have the jungle defend their bottom lane AD carry. They get the kill because their top laner roams in, then they group up on the mid lane. You see all these, pawns moving around on the chessboard, and Copenhagen Wolves are catching up. They have no idea what's going on. This is how you punish a team that's playing reactive, not proactive, because they're always one step behind. And honestly, fantastic early move by Yellowstar, buying those Moby boots and making them count.
I think you said it. When Fnatic plays a lot of teams, it's like a team playing chess versus checkers, but I think Copenhagen Wolves might be playing tic-tac-toe right now. However, they look to find Reckless. Assault and Battery is onto him. They look to arrest his momentum, but the Lantern denied. Hooney's in the picture. 2v3, and they're still taking this fight. Summoner heal spent. Cass is looking to go down, and he does.
Hooney wants to stake. Well done. Burns up just weak Cass. Comes in with the teleport, and honestly, Copenhagen Wolves tunnel vision. Oh, and that's brutal. To watch Reckless slowly walk towards that Lantern. Yeah, that is honestly that makes you tilt. Hashtag just tilting, boys.
That definitely can. Fnatic at insult to injury. They grab themselves a dragon now. Just before 10 minutes into the game. The lead getting close to about 2,000. That dragon, of course, giving gold, but the buff will certainly help. Copenhagen Wolves, once again, come up empty-handed.
And Fnatic playing with a lot of respect on Shook. They know that this buy, if left untreated, can become a big problem because it can punish Fevin in the lanes, can punish Hooney. Came out in the bot lane. Look at the spacing between Yellowstar. He's not gonna peel because he knows he can't get out. He goes to the left side so he doesn't get engaged on by Shook. Goes to Lantern. Kyle's is like knock back, knock up. Slowly walks out, just enough, and then Hooney comes in. He realizes that Alistair's level 5 actually instead of 6, so he turns around. And yeah, Shook and Freeze have to run, and they use so many offensive summoners on that too.
So much blown, and they just couldn't secure it up. Fnatic, though, just playing on another level. So now we've got Reckless and Yellowstar swapped up to the top, trying to deny Lenny. He has been in the CS lead, but that doesn't really mean much when he's got 2 kills, mostly because he's just been roaming.
And most importantly, Hooney found a window where he could teleport down to the bottom lane, as he's roasting Freeze right here, where both teleports from Lenny were down. Summer spell teleport was down, his Stand United was down, and Hooney still somehow had his own teleport available to go bottom. This means good cooldown management by Fnatic, because imagine if Lenny came down, they could have punished Hooney for that. He could have maybe even killed 2 people, but they knew there was no potential counter teleport. Hooney came down, finished up that play. Another tower goes in Fnatic's favor. They're not afraid of mixing and matching these lanes, right? Because Kalista can still beat Sivir in this lane very easily. They say, no, Hooney, you defend that. We get a free tower on the top lane. We'll rotate mid later. They want to speed up this early game.
You know, we did mention that Fnatic can't afford to play fairly different if they want to try experimenting. I feel like their comp isn't all that different. It's just sort of something that they've not always been able to get their hands on. And their playstyle highly hasn't been different either. But apart from that 12 wins in a row, remember, Fnatic here, if they do manage to win this, they will have definitely guaranteed, the producers just told me, they'll definitely get themselves into the playoffs, at least 6th place, and that's so early out, but to guarantee that at this stage of the season, that's like the coolest buffer that you can even think of.
Honestly, in terms of entertainment value, I would like to see Fnatic drop 1 match, because then that, you know, long streak is broken. They can't go 18-0 anymore, and if you can't go 18-0, then it doesn't matter if you go 17-1 or 16-2 or 15-3, because you'll still finish first. And that might prompt more experimentation from Fnatic. But as long as that 18-0 is still on the board, we might see a little tempered experimentation, 1 pick at a time, not too many variables.
Just maybe. Copenhagen Wolves trying to set up a trap here as Yellowstar and Reckless are back in the bottom side. Tower pretty low. Could go for a dive to get back to safety. Reckless is there. Is he going to get closer? The trap. He's waiting. In comes the cow. In comes everyone else. Reckless. Assault and Battery. They will finally take him down. Heavy investment to do it.
But even then, there's no objective tied to the kill just yet. They're going to commit for this tower. All right, good move by the Wolves. I think this is a good opening. Hiding in plain sight.
That's for
Let's see if Fnatic can counter dive in the mid lane here.
Oh, Shireen the shuffle. Feb even knocked in to tower range, but because he didn't attack Soren, he didn't get tower aggro. Chaos Storm on, Rainover around the back, gets the Queen's Unburrow rather, and the Queen's Wrath on. Gets the kill. Nicely done. Hook on to Kaz. Febivin, he can roast the cow as well.
Yeah, Yellow start to slice off a bit of cheese right there with the hook. Alistair ulti is still available, so not too many threats. But yeah, this is Fnatic, right? You strike at one side, they'll strike you at the other. You kill the AD carry. Reignover says, okay, I will cross map you somewhere else. Take down your mid laner. Take down your middle tower. Thank you very much for that opportunity. Such a calculated team in Fnatic.
They are just this team that is so incredibly thoughtful about every move they make on the map. And you even hear it in their interviews, in their post games. They're always saying things like, yeah, we won, but we made this mistake here, we made this mistake here, we sat down, we thought about it. That's the kind of thing that most teams only do when they lose.
I mean, yeah, that's
one step ahead.
It's a team looking to go to Worlds, right?
Looking to compete at Worlds.
They're looking to deliver at Worlds. Fnatic as an organization have been top of the leagues multiple times across the seasons. Different lineup right now. The only rock still left is Yellowstar, but if you want to keep one player on your team, it's probably him. Fantastic captain, both in and out of game. I still remember a quote where he talks about, you know, I can't go out in the weekends. I don't want to go because I want the younger players to look up to me. I don't want them to ever think this guy doesn't practice enough. He doesn't put in his full merit. Sacrificing many hours of his life just for this game, just for this team. Earns the respect of, I think, everybody in the league.
Absolutely. I can't think of a single person who has anything negative to say about Yellowstar. In-game or out, for sure. Proving it time and time again. Let's see what they do on this bottom side. 3 members are not going to go deep into dangerous territory. Instead, they will take the safe route. Let's pull it back to where we are, though, really quick. 15 minutes on the clock. Still building that lead. 2 towers to 1. 3-1 kills. 24K to 20. Keeping it going. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it is pretty warm here in Berlin. Ideal barbecue weather, and Huni agrees. Look at that damage. Needlessly large rod. Both the penetration items finished. He can just turn on that flame spitter and grill everybody in the Copenhagen Wolves lineup.
He's even melting right through Lenny's Spirit Visage. At this point, it's getting dangerous. Freeze has to pop on the hunt defensively. Teleport coming in. Equalizer thrown down. Freeze is walking right through it. Huni says, let's just take the fight. Kaz knocks him away, but Reignover and Yellowstar are still here. He's going to have to burn Flash.
Yeah, Lenny canceled his TP, thinking his team was safe. Everyone looking to chase Sora now. Huni goes for the Dragon.
4 members of Fnatic able to easily take this one out. Lots of ward coverage in this jungle, something we haven't talked about as much this game. Fnatic not only do they calculate every move, but they have the vision to back it up. Another Dragon secured.
Yeah, and the Copenhagen Wolves, they have to use their offensive tool defensively. They use the honor hunt to get away out of the engage. They use the teleport, then cancel it. They get put on the back foot constantly. They haven't crossed the river at all. That wave in the top lane hasn't been pushed in quick enough either. Look at Huni. He's gonna walk up, pick up some more farm, get some more gold, get some more items, and good snowball here from Fnatic.
Keep the ball rolling is the plan for Fnatic. And they are perfectly happy to just let the Wolves try to react to them in every situation because they can't get anything for it.
And honestly, the difference between Fnatic right now and the Fnatic of Spring Split, they were decisive and they got ahead, but they took sometimes these fights that you really didn't want them to take. They ended up losing, overreaching, get their hands stuck in the cookie jar, and we've yet to see that in this split so far. Maybe a couple of times, maybe some mistakes, but they seem to learn from all of their mistakes, and they are very few.
Even in the games they've been the closest to losing, I would argue the Giants game yesterday was probably one of those among them. They
should have lost that.
They still found a way to get back time and time again, take advantage of even the smallest mistakes of the less disciplined teams. And this is what sets them apart. This is why they're 11 wins in a row and counting.
And they do it by having multiple people step up. This game, it is not a single player, it's just Fnatic as a whole, but sometimes you see Huni just carry the game. Yesterday it was Reckless.
Sometimes it's Febiven.
Sometimes it's Febiven. Very often overlooked. There's too many things to look at, really. And when people talk about MVPs, everybody's like, why does Bora or why does Yellowstar get so little recognition? Because he's playing with these star players and he's just supplementing them so well. One of those star players is caught, though.
Maybe a rare mistake from him as they triple team him. Equalizer thrown down. He is going to go down, but not before melting through so much of the health bars of the rest of Copenhagen Wolves. And with that investment, immediately Fnatic react on the bottom side. They will be able to secure a turret.
Yeah, not sure what Huni was doing, taking the scenic route to the Copenhagen Wolves' jungle alone when there's 3 people on the bottom side of the map. Everyone in the middle. Sloppy. Not used to that from Huni.
Yeah, but even so, Fnatic take advantage of the moment. They are able to force everyone away from the bottom side, still grab a tower. Trading Huni for a tower is definitely worth it in this situation. And they're always calculating. They never just get caught.
They always counter trade. I'd still call it getting caught, but you can at least rely on your teammates to get something out of it on the other side of the map, because that was still the Copenhagen Wolves expending 4 resources to get Huni there, distracting them. That Rumble booty in the jungle.
All right. Let's take a look at this. 19 minutes in. They still grow the lead very slowly. Again, it hasn't been like Fnatic hugely pressuring everywhere. They've just been slowly moving into the jungle, being able to get a little bit of pressure, edging Copenhagen Wolves, trying to nudge them out from defending their own base. The Azir turret is up to try and keep them back at the moment. But Copenhagen Wolves aren't making a concerted play here. They're just trying to get picks. They're not looking as forward to objectives, and this is why we only see them sitting on 1 tower at 20 minutes in.
I mean, Fnatic close very controlled and with a lot of respect. You don't see too many people face checking for vision. Usually when Yellow Star moves in, it's always together with Reignover. They have a plan in mind, they take it slowly. They deny you farm here and there, some experience here and there. It's obviously very hard to close against an Azir who can, make these makeshift turrets everywhere he wants, and then you have the Sivir Wave Clear at the other side. And Unbreakable is obviously very strong. Reignover zones out Soren right here, so now they can chip away at this tower.
Definitely starting to get it pretty low here. About 50% of its health. They back off as Cass, Shook, Soren, and Freeze are all in the area. Wolves are bunched up, and Fnatic will back away. Dragon comes up in or Baron rather comes up in another couple of seconds, but it'll still be a little bit of time before I think Fnatic will set their sights on that. They usually do it when they know the enemy's not looking.
Yeah, they're so good at finding these early Barons that are relatively uncontested. When we see other teams go for these risky early Barons, you're never sure how it's going to play out. Fnatic always have a good idea of how much time they have to do the Baron and how much time they need to finish it. Very controlled, especially with the Skillista. Very potent pick when it comes to securing objectives. However, as we saw in the SK game, not all the time.
Not if the Gragas knocks you away. That's not going to be the case with Shook's Vi. However, Fnatic, back in the base, picking up some items, able to get themselves right back into it. And you just look at how well they've been able to control the vision. Again, I want to touch on this because there's so many Rek'Sai tunnels down in this bottom side they're focusing on. There's so much vision in this top side. The Wolves have no idea that there is a forest of wards in their own jungle.
I mean, they'll likely know. There's just not much they can do about it. This is the only thing that worries me from Fnatic as a team, because they're so dominant and they might get used to rolling over teams like this. Because there's no pushback from Wolves. They're just letting it happen, slowly losing the game, no proactive plays, occasionally the very obvious, pick in the jungle where you're camping 4-man on the bush, but there's no minion wave manipulation tied to that, no objectives tied to that, so you will never straight up win the game off that for the Wolves. So when they get used to teams doing this over and over and over, and when they hit later the playoff stages and Worlds eventually, and they might not be used enough, to getting pushed back by your opponents, getting challenged.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the coaching staff is aware of that, and they'll scrim tremendously hard in the preparation for Worlds, which is relatively early to talk about.
We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but back in this one though, I do want to talk on the other side of the spectrum because we really have focused a lot on Fnatic. For the Copenhagen Wolves, no, this is definitely not an easy task for them, and they're slowly getting edged out, not making proactive plays. However, I feel that with these new couple of members in such a sink or swim, do or die matchup as they go in onto Febivin, will they be able to take him down? They pinball him over. The Emperor's Divide may not have even been needed there as Lenny comes in after the fact. They can get a tower.
This is what they have to do. They have to group up, pop the Sivir ulti. And the only thing Fnatic can't deal with is Chook's ultimate on Vi. There is no way to stop that from happening because he will chase you and lock you down. The only person that can dodge Vi ultimate is Yellow Star and Thresh. If he gets Fate called out, he becomes untargetable.
Dangerous Dragon.
Looking for a Dragon.
Reckless will be able to take it down thanks to the Rend proc. Before the Wolves can show up, he snags it away. 3-2-0 on the Dragon score, even though they lost Febivin to do it.
The Copenhagen Wolves use so much on every single pick-off. They use the Vi ulti, Shen coming in, on the hunt, and then there's 2 little reserves left in the bank, but they have to do it because they don't want to let Febivin escape, just like Reckless escaped earlier in the bot lane. So it's a bit of a catch-22 for them.
Yeah, it's difficult, and this is the thing. And it goes back to what I wanted to say before Febivin got picked up there. Copenhagen Wolves definitely have a ways to go. They're not in a happy position in the LCS right now, being at the bottom of the table, but there's still a chance to avoid that automatic relegation, fight it out for the promotion tournament, which they have historically been quite good at. Still very early on, but they've got to make every game count. And from this game, even though you're not expected to win, there's always a lot you can learn from watching a team like Fnatic and playing against a team like Fnatic, and it's all on the Wolves to be able to make the most of that.
Yeah, if anything, this is stage experience for the 2 new guys on the block. The Belgian kids, Josué, Cass, and Lenny. Just want to get accustomed to how it feels to play on stage. How is that desk height? differ from the way you play at home. You know, how cold is it in studio? Do I need to wear an extra jacket, something under my shirt? All these things that play in your mind. How do I deal with white noise in my headset? These are all so many variables you have such a hard time training on. So while this game is a big loss, it is expected to be so. So the Wolves are looking ahead. They're looking at next week. They want to challenge teams like SK Gaming that keep dropping the ball in the mid to late game and hopefully find their way up there, because they're in this position where MYM and Giants were last split, playing for auto relegation. Not good for team atmosphere, not good for pressure in the house.
It's definitely true. So we'll see if they are able to get themselves up some experience and time. And next week they will be facing down SK. They will be facing down the Copenhagen Wolves, or excuse me, Unicorns of Love. And if they can get their heads in the right places, if they can get into a good mindset as well as learn a lot from these games that they're facing off against these tough opponents, they may have a chance to challenge. We'll have to see if that's the case as we progress forward. But back into this game, again, it's just coming up on 25 minutes. The lead has been very gradually extending now. Cass is caught on a line. They've hooked the cheese. He's not going down just yet, but Freeze is going so low. The Chaos Storm now on Cass. It goes right through him. Rainover gets knocked away, but Reckless will stick the spears in and pull him right back out as Soren dashes away. That could have been worse, however, for the Wolves.
You know you're in trouble when an enemy team is focusing an Alistar with Unbreakable Will Up and kills him. That means you have no counter damage, no counter pressure. Look at Fnatic. Not coming in for the Baron. Say, Wolves, we'll fool you once. Let's see if we can fool you twice.
It's even named after them. This is the Fnatic rush, Lenny. You can't fall for that. He's going to be able to almost get away, but Rainover with the flank makes sure that doesn't happen.
Honestly, it's not even falling for him. Ferovan!
Oh!
A little greedy.
Oh, just a bit. Fnatic tried a little too many things at once. This time they can't take the Baron.
Copenhagen will simply have to face it. They can't afford the risk of Fnatic doing the Baron. They have to respect that. Enter the darkness. However, Ferovan with a slight mistake here, leaves off in the middle and exposed. Gives the Wolves some breathing room, and Shook, honestly, is the one shining light for the Copenhagen Wolves. 100% kill participation, taking none of those kills for himself. Exactly the way a jungle should be playing. Now in this metagame on the Vi. Honestly, I like it against Fnatic. It's targeted CC, suppression kinda, because you can't get rid of it.
Rainover looks for Cass again. They just want to keep fighting around this Baron. Establish your dominance. Fate's Call throws Yellowstar in.
And wants to
That's
play
two
Yo-Yo.
ultimates down there just to try and get a pick off on the cow. They can't get it.
Yeah, they just want to clear the Baron vision. Once they find this ward right here, everything goes dark. And the Baron pit is dark and full of terrors. Poorly placed ward there. You really want to place that around the edge. Copenhagen Wolves. And now they have the Rend execute. Shook's here. Decent at smite steals, but so hard to do it. And Fnatic, they can take it slow. They don't have to rush this Baron down at the end.
No, they can go ahead and peel for the fight. They found Koss, but Lenny and Shook, they're all coming in. It's a party in the Baron pit now. And who is going home with the prize? It's gonna be Rainover. Copenhagen Wolves to their best efforts to save the day, but it doesn't matter in the end. Double kill for the victor. Soren, Emperor's divides the rest of them away, but he's still burning low and forced to Summoner heal, flashing into the Krugs. They've got full vision of him, and it looks like it's only gonna be a matter of time. Yellowstar's here, the hook, not quite connecting. Soren got nowhere to go. That's the ace, that's the Baron, that's Fnatic ringing the bells to try and finish this game off.
Yellowstar is cheating right there. He misses the hook, goes for the flame, and says, okay, well, never mind, I'm just gonna ignite this guy and walk away. But yeah, good Baron from Fnatic, and they do what SK Gaming couldn't do. They synchronize their smite with their Rend. They set a number, likely in their voice comms. They say, okay, when this Baron hits 2.3k, we're both gonna press it, regardless who goes first or last. That exact frame, because you know the number they have in their head. There's all impossible for Shook to get a smite in between.
Copenhagen Wolves did what they had to do to jump in and stop that Baron, but you're right, Fnatic so much more coordinated, completely outplay them, outmaneuver them. Big wave pushing bot, Inhibitor taken down mid, Huni pushing down on the bottom side. The Wolves are in a world of hurt.
And the Copenhagen Wolves, they're about to go 2-10 in the European LCS. However, they're only one win away from SK Gaming. That's all they need. 2 wins away from Elements. Let's watch this again. Shook goes in a little early. Wildberger couldn't stop that. He uses ulti on Rainover. They want to kill him. But I would argue you're better off killing Reckless. Get rid of the Rend stacks and then go smite for smite, because obviously the Rend execute does way more. And synchronized damage output. A little miscommunication, misfocus there, but even if they got the Baron, they would have gotten roasted. So much damage on the side of Fnatic rather.
Yellowstar goes in a little solo actually on this dragon, but he's okay to do it just
Nah, he had the lantern in the red buff pit. Tried to go for the max distance range Lantern, but Reckless was too busy clearing that camp. He said, nope, not today. I'll ride the Thresh Express another time.
Yep. And Huni too. Definitely doing some serious work. You mentioned roasting and barbecues and all those good things. It's a good thing there's a holiday where I'm from, Crepo, that's going to be all about tomorrow, but Huni's ringing it in quite nicely. And it's already on. However, it looks like Lenny, or rather Rainover, is going down. However, the rest of Fnatic is already here. Lenny is going to have to shadow dash over the wall, but face call not even needed as Febivin lasers him down. Huni still toasting these minions on the bottom side. Waves still pouring in the mid, and soon to be the bottom. Copenhagen Wolves are running out of options.
Rainover trades himself for the top laner, Lenny. 4v4 right now. See how much damage they're doing on the turret. Yeah, this is not going to survive too long, Pyra.
It's already down. Inhibitor now being taken out. Copenhagen Wolves trying to respond with a little bit of non-committal poke, but they're just rolling over here. Fnatic sitting pretty. 4 dragons. That Baron buff out, of course, but doing just so much work against these Wolves.
And honestly, that's what was expected from this game. Fnatic in true Fnatic fashion. Slow early game, one could argue. Fantastic teleports coming out.
I would say they definitely did do as you were saying and kind of temper it a little bit. If they really wanted to experiment and just do some crazy stuff and see for the hell of it if it worked out, they could have gotten away with it in a number of situations. Nonetheless, they play it smart, they keep going, and on par to be the first team here in Europe to guarantee themselves a playoff berth.
Yep, but at the same time, how value is experimentation against a 10th place team in the league? I mean, what conclusive data can you draw from it? I feel Fnatic as a team, they're so far ahead in terms of shot calling and communication that it doesn't matter what they play. They can vary it up all the way, and they would likely still win the game. Playing this game with a lot of respect, very meta picks.
When they can get their hands on him too. I mean, again, this is not a comp they've been fully able to run for a little while.
The only thing that I feel could be a weakness in his composition is that Victor is incredibly immobile. Or I can't use that word because Kobe gets mad at me. Low mobility, mid lane champion. He has the lantern to get out, and that is the only weakness of this composition right here. So much damage on Fnatic's side.
They have been really just taking everything away from these Wolves. Huni in the mid, they've got the 4-1 on. Wolves have got to react, but there's no inhib mid, there's no inhibitor bot. The last one has its, or rather Fnatic has their sights set on it, and it seems like it's just going to be a matter of time before that too will fall. The Wolves can make a miracle play. They managed to find a couple of picks, but not without huge cost to them. Now would be the time to try and keep it alive. And Cass is already down. Febivin lasers him. Shook trying to find Febivin, but Reckless is taken down. Soren, just like that, the damage is gone. A double kill as Shook will now fall. Lenny gets rended away, and Yellowstar picks up the kill. Huni just going for the end right now. He knew that was all about to happen. Might want to stat pad just a little bit. But there we go. Last inhibitor turret is falling down, and I don't think anyone expected anything different. But 32 minutes into the game, after the ace, Fnatic take down the Copenhagen Wolves and qualify for playoffs.
And Yellowstar, another game, 0 deaths. This guy doesn't die very often.
No, he doesn't.
Fantastic KDA reflects that score as well. I believe it was last week where he went like 2-1 and 28, or 26. He had a 28 KDA last week. Just a phenomenal performance as a support, and yeah, expected, but consistency and deliverancy is what Fnatic brings to the table.
Yeah,
and
12 games in a row. They
got taken to the ropes yesterday by against Giants, but they showed what they do under pressure. A lot cleaner, a lot crisper win. And they're getting used to this walk. So far, no team has had to walk to Fnatic's side of the stage. They're always the one walking first.
Yes, indeed. They will shake hands once again for the 12th time this split, and with the fans. Such an awesome fan base Fnatic has as well. Always massive respect. The organization, even though they changed a lot of faces last year, they've gotten some more experience under their belts. And the team that surprised everybody by coming out ahead into the first have looked even stronger against every team now, and then some in this summer split.
Fnatic 12-0, the Wolves 2-10. Biggest difference in the league right now in terms of wins and losses. Fast difference showed on the Rift, honestly, too. There was almost nothing the Wolves could do. They tried. This guy right here on your screen, Shook, he tried.
shining light.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of work to do for the Copenhagen Wolves, and we'll have to see, how they develop. If they can make a challenge for keeping themselves out of that auto relegation, they definitely have a knack for it.
Yeah, all 5 kills that Fnatic gave up were at the hands of Shook. He was somehow involved in them. So 100% kill participation, but Copenhagen Hills, they will need a lot more kills to make that stat really worthwhile.
Yeah.
A decent draft overall. I like the Vibe pick. Maybe the Shen can work against other teams. But still, the fact that Huni can find an opening where he can teleport bot lane, while then his Stand United and his Summer Spell teleporter down, indicates that, yeah, there's just Fnatic was just one step ahead all around.
Coordination, they just do not give anything up. And this is what has set them apart so well. I mean, again, the Wolves, I think they had a pretty valiant effort, but it's not going to be enough against a team like Fnatic. Now, we're going to send it side stage. Repulsed is going to have a word with Huni about that win.
Thank you, Pyra. I'm here joined with Huni, one of the players from Fnatic after his win and extending his win streak. Now, Huni, the crowd love you, but you now have the biggest win streak in European history. What does that mean for you?
It's really happy for me because it's first time my professional player and I got rookie as well, standard rookie. And second time we new record of Europe LCS like 2.0. I don't know, it's gonna be like 18-0 or everything. So I'm really happy, glad about new record.
Well, it's looking like an 18-0 so far, Huni. So you're obviously a very strong top laner, but who do you rank as the top 3 in Europe in terms of top laners?
In Europe, top 3. I think I'm not really sure, but for even me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Top 1. Obviously, I'm first, and second, I think it's Cabo Chart. Third is Odomne, I think, because Cabo Chart raining phase is really strong, and Odomne is how to play. It's like TP and roam as well. So, but they cannot follow me.
And they've been trying to follow you, Huni. Like, we've seen a lot of Rumble picks now coming out. How does a person become so good at Rumble like you?
Sorry, it was so loud, so I can...
Oh yeah, sure. So how do you become such a good Rumble player? What makes a good Rumble?
Can you say again?
So Rumble is a very difficult champion, and you're very good at Rumble. How do people become as good as you on Rumble?
It's really hard to champion in Rumble, but it's really most important thing is you keep it passive. It's obviously for me it's really easy to play champion because I play already like 1K game. So I think you have to play 1K game.
Well, practice makes perfect. Once again, congratulations on your win, Huni. We're going to shoot it over to the analysts to close out that game.
All you have to do is play 1K games on whatever champion. Oh, very interesting. You said top 3 top laners: Huni, Cabochard, Odoamne. Next week in the Fnatic OG rematch, Soaz will have something extra to prove in that one. Always a pleasure to listen to Huni. Very confident, and I feel like this is one of the times that I think it is absolutely justified for a team to do so.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think when we look at Huni and how well he plays on Rumble, it's actually been banned away in 9 of Fnatic's 12 games this split. It was first picked once, and obviously it was picked up today. So out of the 12 games, only one time has Rumble not been picked up or played by Huni and Fnatic. And I think if you see how effectively Huni uses the equalizer to push towers to get those teleport ganks off, it is a major, major threat at all stages of the game.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's a really weird thing because when you watch Fnatic, when you watch Huni as well, he's always having great games, but seems to sometimes be outshone by Forbidden, sometimes by Reckless. Maybe not always stamping maximum authority. This time, we kind of felt Forbidden was having a quiet game. Not a bad game, just a quieter game than usual. So Huni, back on Rumble, manages to just stamp his authority.
And I want to expand on that just a moment. I think if you look at yesterday and today's games, I think Forbidden is a little out of his element. Yesterday on Azir, I really did not particularly enjoy some of his engages. I felt like he was out of position several times. Leading up to the Baron in today's game against the Wolves, he got caught out twice. There was one particular instance where Forbidden just got basically zoned and jumped on by Soren with Flash, with cleanse available. and it's not something I'm used to seeing from Febiven. So a little bit of an off week for him particularly, but the rest of the team picked up the slack.
Certainly, and so much of the consistency is coming from the bottom lane for Fnatic. I think Reckless, you can just see it in the game, but Crepo was talking about it during the game, how just unsung Yellowstar can be. His week 5 stats, 1-1 and 26. Week 6 stats, 3-2 and 29. And especially when you consider that he went up against a rookie here in the LCS in Je suis Cass. Certainly, Bora was saying, Je suis Cass, bienvenue à la LCS.
That's actually quite a good pronunciation from a Welshman. That's impressive.
Normally, we just have a lot of vowels. So
I just have a lot of vowels. Okay, well, I think that's about it for Fnatic. Fantastic performance. A shame, of course, for the Copenhagen Wolves, but they are still trying to find their groove with their new players. But Fnatic, they seem well on their way to a 18-0. Let's check in with you guys at home, because earlier we asked you, who is your must-pick ban champion on 5.12? And at Type Dreamlol says, Rek'Sai, an extremely good early game jungler with strong map pressure moving into the late game. Actually, when I was writing down picks and bans, instead of writing Rek'Sai, I wrote Reignover for Fnatic. So
I don't blame you at all. When you look at Reignover and Rek'Sai and the impact he's had throughout the split, it's been phenomenal. Spring split as well. What I really like, though, is last week Reignover went, Rek'Sai's available, don't need him. Gonna play Olaf these times, gonna let the Ragnarok, gonna let the scaling work in his favor. But it's good to see Reignover back on a signature champion, and I particularly like watching the tunnels. I love seeing where the tunnels are placed on the map because it tells you exactly who the jungler is trying to assist the most by having multiple options for that farm along.
yeah, but pool party Rek'Sai, please, next time. Reignover. Our second tweet is from @Emerwin11. I think Kalista, she is a lane bully, doesn't decay in the mid game, and is an unstoppable force late. Reckless showed it against Giants today as well, but yesterday he actually single-handedly made, not single-handedly, okay, the team did something, whatever, but Reckless definitely stepped up and made that game in favor of Fnatic at the end.
He certainly did. Impressive performance yesterday, solid performance today, Fnatic prioritizing it. Every team is prioritizing Kalista so very highly. So, yeah, I couldn't agree more with that.
Definitely. Well, that's all that we said. It's time to step away as we gear up for our next match. But when we return, Elements will face Origin after losing to Xpeke and his team just 2 weeks ago. We'll be back with all the action after this.
I agree.
Nordic. What is Nordic?
From the North
Polar
Pole,
bears,
actually.
you know, and penguins. We have penguins and polar bears. Really? No, we don't.
And Battery is onto him. Look to arrest his momentum, but the deny. Pooney's in the picture. It's gonna be Reignover. Copenhagen Wolves to their best efforts to save the day, but it doesn't matter in the end. Cass is already down. Febiven lasers him. Shook trying to find Febiven, but Reckless has taken down Soren. Just like that, the damage has gone a double kill. Fnatic take down the Copenhagen Wolves and qualify for playoffs.